Hey friends, my name is Steph. Welcome back to my channel, not only to myself, but to some of the new people that have watched my previous video and subscribed. I recently did a reading journal type video. So thank you to all those people. Guys, it is the 2nd of January, okay? It is a fresh new year. I've got my Diet Coke. I've got my fan on because for some reason it's really hot in Melbourne today. Because of course it is, on the day that I actually find the motivation to film. This is going to be my best and worst books of each month of 2025. I've been wanting to film this video since like December 15th and then didn't because I have issues with actually doing things that I set my mind to. So we're going to do it now. This is going to be a very laid back, chill video. I'm actually just going to be talking to you guys. I'm not going and finding all the books on my shelves. Some of them I don't own, some of them I've gotten rid of. Like, I'm not going to do that whole thing. I'm not even going to put up like little photos. Maybe I will, see if I can be bothered after I finish filming, but this is just going to be probably the most chill video that's been on this channel ever. So let's get into it. So let's start up with January 2025, the first month of 2025. My favorite read of the month was Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. It was a 5-star book. It is the 3rd book in the Knock 'Em Out trilogy. It was one of 3 books I read that month. It was, I think, a perfect conclusion to the trilogy. It had my favorite characters, it had my favorite tropes. I really just thought The Things We Left Behind was a 5-star romance book. Now obviously the only 2 other books I read that month were the other 2 books in the Knock 'Em Out trilogy, and I guess by default The Things We Hide from the Light was my least favorite. It was still a 4-star book. It was still really good. I still really enjoyed it, but in a month where I only read 3 books and it had 2 5-stars and 1 4-star, unfortunately The Things We Hide from the Light just did not hit as hard. It had characters that I didn't really relate to. I didn't really like that much. Like, they weren't bad, I did like them, but comparatively to Sloane and Lucy, they just like did not compare. Then we jumped into February. February, my favorite book of the month was called Madwoman by Chelsea Baker. It was a 4.5-star read, which isn't a 5-star read, but it was still a really enjoyable book. It basically just follows this woman, and it's so hard to explain this book because it doesn't have a load of plot, but we follow this woman as she receives a letter from her mother. And this is big scary because she hasn't spoken to her mother in a really long time. She had a somewhat troubling, traumatic childhood. She now has her own husband, her own kids. She's trying to move on from the past, pretend that that past doesn't exist, but then she gets this letter from her mother and it kind of sends her entire life into a spiral. And I don't know, there was just something really beautiful about the entire book, the way it was written. The main characters struggle with accepting her past as part of herself. It was just a really beautiful book. There was one section, it was so insignificant, like it was just a moment where our main character reconnected with her first boyfriend, and he said something really simple like, you know, we weren't meant to be with each other in this lifetime, but one day we'll both fall asleep and when we wake up it'll be our chance, or something like really cheesy like that. But for some reason I was fucking bawling. Like, I cried when I read that line. So yes, while it wasn't a 5-star book, it was damn close to a 5-star book. I really loved that book. Least favorite book of February is called The Beast You Are by Paul Tremblay. This is his, I think it was his newest short story collection. I gave it 2.5 stars. It was so fine. It is so hard for a short story collection to be anything higher than like a 3 or a 3.5 star, because you're always gonna find stories you don't like. And the second that I give a short story a 1-star or a 0.5-star rating, it's gonna drop the entire average of the collection. So The Beast You Are wasn't a terrible collection by any means. It was a completely average collection, but right now in this moment I cannot tell you a single story from that short story collection that I remember. So it really didn't leave much of an impact. And I've kind of also gotten to the point of accepting that like Paul Tremblay is probably just not the author for me. I think the 2 books by him that I love the most, which is A Head Full of Ghosts and The Cabin at the End of the World, I think those 2 books might just be the outliers. They might be the exception to the rule because very simply I don't really like Paul Tremblay stories that much. But anyway, that's just a little bit of a mini rant. Moving into March, my favorite book of the month was my reread of In an Absent Dream by Sean McGuire. So typically every year or every second year I will reread the Wayward Children series up until and including the newest release. So in 2025, I reread the entire series to read the newest book at that point. And In an Absent Dream, I don't know if it's the actual world itself. So If you guys don't know, the Wayward Children series by Sean McGuire follows a world. Well, it's set in our world for the most part, but it focuses on the children that find doors and go to different worlds and then spit back into our world. So examples would be like Alice in Wonderland. So the rabbit hole she falls down would be an example of like a door. For Wizard of Oz, Dorothy and the Hurricane, that would count as her door. Narnia, literally a door at the back of the closet or in the back of the wardrobe. So this series follows these children after the world that they've gone to has spit them back out into the human world, into the mortal world. And Eleanor is the proprietor of the school. She is an elderly woman who has had her own experiences with these other worlds and with these doors, and she knows that it's fucking shit to be spit back out into the world that never wanted you in the first place. So she essentially like gathers these children, brings them into her school, and kind of like, yes, they do have lessons, they do get educated, but for the most part, Eleanor's mission is to bring these children together and let them know that like, even if no one else believes your experiences and what you went through on the other side of the door, every single person here has a story really similar to yours, and it kind of helps them either like wait around for their door to reappear or to maybe one day move on and have a normal life. It's kind of like a halfway house for kids that are being spit back into the human world. So In an Absent Dream is set in a world through the door that is essentially the Goblin Market, a la Christina Rossetti, which I love the idea of the Goblin Market. That poem is like so fucked up and disgusting and disturbing, but also written so beautifully. That's a whole other rant. But this book is, yes, primarily set in the Goblin Market, and the biggest rule of the Goblin Market is fair trade, okay? Being really careful with your words, being very specific with exchanging goods and favors. So they don't have like a money system, but they have a bartering system, and the whole thing is fair trade. Like, if you try and pull a dodgy and trick someone out of a deal, the Goblin Market will know that. The Goblin Market will remember that, and the Goblin Market will make you pay because everything is about fair trade. It is such an interesting idea, interesting concept. I love the characters, I love the world, and the ending breaks my motherfucking heart every single time. So while I love every single book in the Wayward Children series, like I don't think a single book has gotten lower than a 4.5 star. There is just something so beautiful and nostalgic for In an Absent Dream. So that was my 5-star read of March. My least favorite read of March was a delightful little fucking book called Seduced by the Swamp Creature. I gave this book a single star. Now, I'm not a judgy queen. I myself have dabbled in romances that feature like a human and a creature or a monster or a fucking shapeshifter of whatever sort. So I have read like kraken romances, dragon romances. I've read all sorts of fun shit, gargoyle romances. Like I read some weird stuff. However, this book was just objectively written so fucking terribly, and I get that like it's one of those books that obviously the author, I think the author's name, like her pen name for this book is Ivana Sloppycock, and I'm not monetized anyway, so it won't matter, but like anyway, I get that this book was just like a little bit of fun, a little bit cheeky fun. I understand all that, but it was objectively written so fucking terribly. The main character was insufferable. Like, I don't think I've read about a character that has been so, like, literally, she fits like the dumb blonde stereotype so perfectly. Like, I don't know if there was anything in her head besides air and like fairy floss. She was just so fucking insufferable. The creature itself was so weirdly attached to her so quickly. It was a very short book. It was like 80 pages. I unhauled it almost immediately. It was fucking like, all as I can say is I'm so glad I did not spend the money on that book myself, because I mean I would have cried if I had wasted my money on that book. So I wouldn't recommend it. It was a 1-star read for me, and I think it was the first 1-star read of the year. So it certainly isn't the last, but yikes, guys. Then we moved into April. My favorite book of April was The Ha. Now, The Ha by David, isn't it his name Sogderson? I don't know how to pronounce his surname. The Ha was this freaky little book, essentially about an elder lady living in Scotland, and she was born on this land and she plans to fucking die on this land. But obviously, with society and capitalism and consumerism and all the isms that are happening in the world today, a massive property developer is essentially buying all of her friends' properties knocking down their houses and plans to, I don't know if they plan like an airport or like a resort, but they are destroying these people's homes to build on the land. And our main character, who is, like I said, an elderly lady, I don't remember her name, but she's basically like, fuck no, like, I'm not selling my house. Like I said, she was born on this land, she plans to fucking die on this land, and no amount of money these men offer her is going to make her change her mind. While all this is happening, and that she and a couple of her elderly friends in the village are fighting for their right to party, our main character comes across this like gelatinous blob creature on the shore of the beach. And instead of like being a little bit weirded out and just walking away, our main character is like, I need to help this creature. So she gets a wheelbarrow and like slurps this creature into the wheelbarrow, takes it home, puts it in her bathtub, and I think like she accidentally cuts her finger, and as soon as a drop of blood enters the bathtub, this creature starts to like, not solidify, but it starts to have a bit of a form. So maybe you can see where this is going. Weird little book. It's like horror. It's very gory. There are some very gory scenes. It's a little bit thrilling because there is an element of like, not espionage, I don't know if that's the right word. There's just other things happening. But at the heart of it, it was a love story, which is so wild to me. But I really fucking loved it. So I gave that 5 stars. Least favorite read of April was Homesick for Another World by Ottessa Moshfegh. Now, like I said, short story collections, my dude, it is so hard for a short story collection to average anything higher than like a 2.5 or 3 star. This was the case. I gave this one a 2.5 star. Realistically, and I've written this in my review for this book, I think I might have been really nice when rating some of the short stories. I think I initially rated the first few really low, and then as I progressed through the book, I realized that that's just Ottessa Moshfegh's writing style that doesn't really gel with me, and I didn't feel like it was right to rate the stories based on me not liking her writing style, so I started rating them a little bit kinda after that. But in all honesty, it was probably more of like a 2 or a 1.5 star book. I have since unhauled it. I just didn't really love it. I hope the other Ottessa books I have work for me a bit better, but the short story collection was just not the vibe. Moving into May, one of my favorite books of the entire year I read in May, and that is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. This book is not my vibe. Like, I read it spur of the moment on a whim because I'd seen a couple of people talk about it on TikTok, and I thought, fuck it, whatever, I'm just gonna get it. It was so beautiful, so heartbreaking. I have never cared about a setting in a book more than I did with Wild Dark Shore. This book follows a family of 4 who live off an island in Antarctica, and they kind of live there to protect this massive vault of seeds. Like, should any plants on the planet become extinct, there is seeds to repopulate that plant on this island in these vaults that this family is protecting. Every other person who worked on this island has jumped ship because, not sure if you guys know, ice caps are melting, water levels are getting higher, and this family is like they're losing parts of the island. They're seeing animals struggle to find homes, and they are very aware that they're going to have to jump ship soon as well. This follows them in like the last couple of weeks before they are due to leave this island, and one night a strange woman washes ashore, and she basically says, I'm looking for my husband. My husband is a researcher on this island. And it's a bit tense at first because the family doesn't want to trust this strange woman who's just shown up out of nowhere. This woman doesn't really want to trust this family who like says that they know her husband but isn't really giving her much more information than that. It was such a good book. I really loved it. Writing style was beautiful, setting descriptions beautiful, and I cared about the characters so much. I was sobbing by the end. Least favorite book of May was a fucking stupid book called Coup de Grace. Coup de Grace? I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't speak French. This book, like, I've ranted about this book on my channel before, but what does one more hurt? You know, fresh year, same me. This book follows a man who has decided he's going to kill himself. He decides that he's going to get on this train line. At the very end of the train line, I think, is a beach, and that is where he's going to kill himself. He gets on this train, and then he eventually gets off the train, and instead of being at the train station he thought he was getting off at, he is in this like infinite train station. Like, this train station is liminal. It's a liminal space, liminal train station. I'm sorry that I sound nasally, but like, I'm getting the hay fevers real bad lately, guys. Anyway, this insufferable main character is stuck in this train station, right, trying to find a way out. looking for another person, looking for connection. Obviously, the train station he's stuck in is a big fucking metaphor for depression. Like, I fucking got it. Like, it was fucking, like, slammed in my face page after page that this guy's physical entrapment in this train station is like his brain being trapped in depression. Like, we fucking get the fucking point. Thank you for making it so fucking obvious. Like, your reader is really the fucking most stupid person on the planet. Anyway. Anyway, weird things happen in this train station, and whatever. I was like, some scenes I was kind of like mildly interested in, like, oh, is he gonna get out of that? Of course he does. He's the main character. So he gets out of all these like really tricky situations where like different like creatures I think are attacking him, and like the walls start closing on him. He meets someone, he loses that person, he somehow finds like an infinite food source. Like, things are fine, right? You get to the very end of the book, maybe like the last 10-20 pages, and this book turns into a choose your own fucking adventure. It was fucking crazy, dudes. It gets to this page where the author, author, main character, I think they're basically one and the same, but in this book, specifically in this book, the main character finds a telephone in this train station, and I think he picks up the receiver and he hears a dial tone, and then he talks directly to you, the reader, and he says, I'm tired. I'm tired of making choices. I'm tired of every decision I make coming back to hurt me, so I put the decision in your hands, reader. Should I, A, put down the phone receiver, sit here and die? Should I call my mum and ask her to come pick me up? Or should I call the guy that I was going to hook up with this morning and tell him that I want to meet him for a date? Or like, whatever. There's 3 or 4 stupid fucking options. Now, I would just like to preface that this entire book is about this man's suffering, right? And I think it was the first option listed was for him to put down the phone receiver and basically like let himself wither away in this train station. So I picked that option. And then the main character, once again, talking directly to me, says, I can't believe that you would choose to put me through more fucking suffering. Haven't I suffered enough? You're such an asshole. Like, I fucking hate you. You're the worst. Which really fucking annoyed me. Like, it felt, and I know that I'm taking this very personally for a book that is obviously not talking to me, Stephanie, directly, but is talking to any person reading the book, but I felt very attacked. I was very much like, I don't know if it's a good idea for you as an author to have your main character attack the reader who is supporting your work. It just felt a little bit weird to me. So that really annoyed me. It also annoyed me that the entire ending was a choose your own ending, because to me it just felt so ridiculously fucking lazy that, like, let's be real, most forms of media we consume, we're like, how's it gonna end? What's the ending gonna be? How's it gonna end? What's gonna happen? And it's like the author did like all the build up for an ending and then got to the ending and then just decided that they couldn't be fucked writing anymore, so they just kind of gave up. It just, everything about this book annoyed me. The writing style was ridiculous, like so flowery, so over the top descriptive. There were some paragraphs, some sentences, and some pages that genuinely did not make sense because of the amount of bullshit. And like, it's like this author, I'm so sorry if they say this, because this is not like an attack on them and their personality and their intelligence. It's an attack on the fucking fact that I had to read this book, that I put myself through reading this book. It was just, it's like the author just picked up a thesaurus for every other word and didn't realize that while a thesaurus will give you words that mean the same thing, that the context is important and like the way it's put in a sentence is important. So there would be some times where I can see what word the author would have used had they just used a normal word, but because they picked like a fancier, smarter word, the sentence no longer makes grammatical sense. It happened throughout the entire fucking book. There were so many times I would read 2 pages and then have to go back and read them because I didn't know what the page, like, I don't know what I was supposed to be comprehending from those pages. It's like this book was written to be as difficult to comprehend as fucking possible. I don't know if this, I'm sure there are people out there who love this fucking book, and I'm sure people out there like love this book because it changed their lives or it shed light on their own depression and like really spoke to them. I did not get any of those vibes, right? As someone who suffers from my own mental fucking illnesses, my own mental issues, this book did nothing but fucking piss me off. So I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend you waste your money on it. I genuinely have nothing nice to say about this book except for the fact that I bought it secondhand, so I didn't have to spend like $35 on it. Can you believe we're not even halfway through the year yet? Let's move on to June. My favorite book of June, easy fucking clap, was Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, 5 stars. I posted a TikTok and I think in my wrap up I also showed the clip. I was bawling like a baby. Like, I feel like it sounds like I cry a lot when I read books. I don't. I cried a really, really good book. So I think this is the third book this year that made me cry. There's a fucking good reason for that. Song of Achilles, like, I love Greek mythology and I love sad queer romances, and I just loved this book. I don't know what to tell you if you haven't read it yet, because it's been out for so fucking long. I cannot believe it took me so long to read Song of Achilles. I've had it on my shelves since the year it was published, and then this year was the one year where I was like, yeah, maybe I'll eventually pick it up. So all I can say is, if you know anything about Achilles, this follows Achilles and his friend Patroclus. I actually did a bit of research after, and like, there are some Greek writers who are like, no, they were literally just friends. Like, guys would share beds in ancient Greece, guys, like, it's not that weird. And then other Greek writers were like, they were definitely fucking. So it was interesting to see that historically, like, there is a chance that they're like canonically queer. Anyway, it was very interesting, but I fucking loved Song of Achilles. It was so fucking beautiful. My least favorite book of June was called I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. Now, very controversial book. Don't really want to get too much into it, but I gave this book a 2.5 stars. It wasn't a bad book. It was just so average. Like, I finished the book and I didn't really have any feelings about it one way or the other. Like, I had some good thoughts, I had some bad thoughts. They kind of canceled each other out, and by the end I just felt like meh. Now, I do want to acknowledge I am so fucking sorry to anyone who knew the author. Unfortunately, so this entire book is about our author. I don't remember her name from the top of my head, but it is essentially transcripts of her therapy sessions. When she started therapy, she started recording them, and a majority of the book is her conversations with her therapist. And I don't know how many books she published. I think there's 2 or 3 of them. But in 2025, this author actually did pass due to suicide, which is really, it's very eerie and uncomfortable to think about, because, you know, she's published her therapy sessions where she talks about all of her mental issues and things that she needs help with and things she struggles with, and millions of people read these books, and at the end of the day, she still maybe like didn't get the help that she needed, or she just, I don't know. And I'm just, like I said, I'm so sorry to anyone who knows the author, any friends, any family of the author, anyone who saw themselves in the author's writing. Like, I'm just sorry to anyone affected by this death. So I'm not gonna like be all funny, loud, and haha for this little section. Like I said, there were some parts of the book I really related to, other parts where I had questions about the therapist. In all honesty, I was just not sure why a therapist would say or do things the way that her therapist did. To me, a 2.5 star book, as far as like relatability, enjoyment, writing style, I guess, or talking style, but let's just leave it at that. Let's move on. July, my 5-star book was Listen for the Lie. This book was just what I needed at the time. I'm not gonna say it's like a fucking my new favorite thriller of all time, but it was a really fun thriller that hit the motherfucking spot when I needed it. This book follows a woman who has been accused of killing her best friend. Now she doesn't think she killed her best friend, but she can't actually be sure because she blacked out a massive chunk of time from the night that her best friend turned up murdered. Everyone in town thought she did it, but for as far as evidence and like logistics go, the police could never arrest her, so she moves out of town. Then one day a podcaster, true crime podcaster, goes to her town and starts asking questions and tries to solve the crime once and for all, and to figure out if our main character did in fact kill her best friend or not. It was fun, it had a podcast element, I really enjoyed it. My least favorite book of June, is that what we're up to? No, we're up to July. My least favorite book of July is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Now this was still a 3-star book. It was like a fine romance. It was a bit cute, like, so it was slightly higher than average, but it wasn't a strong romance, super forgettable. I actually don't remember much about that book at all. It is a cowboy romance, so if you were interested, I mean, I guess give it a shot. I think it might be like a best friend's little sister romance. I think that's what the trope was. I don't, like I said, don't really remember much about it. I remember it being quite a short book, which is probably why I don't remember much about it, because I didn't have enough time to really connect with characters. I have since sold that book, which is fine. I hope the new owner enjoys it. Moving into August. My favorite book of August is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. I don't know how to say this in this day and age, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm a huge Harry Potter stan, okay? I can't help it. I'm so sorry. I'm one of those, like, I wouldn't say, like, I'm a Harry Potter adult, but I'm definitely one of those bitches that's, like, trying so hard to separate the author from their works, which is why I don't feel bad loving Rose in Chains, because, like, I'm pretty sure that she who shall not be named, like, doesn't really get anything out of Rose in Chains being Harry Potter fanfiction. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, I really enjoyed Rose in Chains. I never read The Auction when it was just fanfiction, so I went in fresh to Rose in Chains, and guys, all I'm going to say is Rose in Chains made me realize that, like, I still really enjoy romantasy. I just never gravitate towards it. Like, I just never pick it up. If I, in this very moment, was asked, like, hey, what book on your shelves, like, pick a book on your shelves to read, I wouldn't even think about reaching for romantasy, but, like, I love romantasy. So this book really re-sparked my love of romantasy and made me want to read them more. So that's all I'm going to say. And my least favorite of August was a book called Sick Boys by, I think it's Clarissa Wilde. Is that her name? I don't know. This was a weird, like, dark college reverse harem romance. But I'm going to be so honest, it wasn't the sort of reverse harem situation I was looking for. Really, I just wanted to read C.M. Stunich, but I didn't have any books by her that I was really, like, interested by at that point in time, so I picked up this one instead, and I didn't really love it. Like, 3.5 star in hindsight seems like way too high a rating. Like, I guess it was a good book, like, I guess I enjoyed it, but there was, like, a weird mystery thriller aspect to it that didn't really make a lot of sense. I think part of my 3.5 star rating is the fact that, like, the bad guys get their comeuppance, but for the most part, not super memorable, so that one has also been sold, and I'm so fine with that. Like, bye-bye her, have a good life her. In September, I had 2 favorite books, which is fine because that means that the total number of books talked about in this video is going to be 25, so 25 and 25, loves to see it. My favorite books in September were firstly The Ritual by, I think her name's Chloe Walsh. The Ritual is a book by an Australian author, and it just follows this woman who's very lost in life and gets a job at a beauty cosmetics company, but it's very culty, and there's, like, these weird practices and rituals that this company perform weekly, and, like, by the end, it's just one of those, like, coming of age books where the main character feels like they are losing their fucking minds. It was so good, I really enjoyed it. But my other 5-star of the month was The Wedding People. Now, I had to read this for my book club, and I did not think I was gonna like it, and I fucking loved it. It was such an enjoyable book. The Wedding People follows our FMC who decides that she is going to kill herself. Can you tell there's, like, a theme, a very specific vibe that I go for sometimes in my life? She's decided she's going to kill herself, and she decides that she's going to do it at this really fancy hotel that she's always wanted to go to but has never, like, committed to going to. So she decides that she's going to do it at this hotel. She gets there and she realizes that the entire hotel is booked out for a wedding party except her. She's the only non-wedding guest, and the bride, like, realizes what's happened, and the bride goes up to her and she's like, you need to leave the hotel because this is my wedding. And our main character is like, okay, well, I'm just gonna kill myself, so tomorrow I'm not gonna be a problem. And then the main character's like, okay, you can't kill yourself in this hotel because it's my wedding. They strike up a weird friendship. It was really fun, it was enjoyable, it felt very real. The only part I didn't love was literally the last chapter. It just felt very clean. It felt very neat. It felt like everything worked out perfect for all the characters. And because the book had been so messy and gritty until that point, I didn't love that it ended in a way that was like, tee-hee, everything's great. So that was the one thing I didn't love, but apart from that, such a good book. And my least favorite book of September was Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. Can you believe a Lynn Painter book being my least favorite of the month? Unhinged Behavior. This book is a sequel to one of my favorite Lynn Painter books called Better Than the Movies. Nothing Like the Movies is a direct sequel that follows characters that I did love in the first book and hated in the second book. I don't know what to say about Nothing Like the Movies without spoiling the entirety of the first book and, like, all that stuff. So all I'm going to say is, if you liked Better Than the Movies, if you liked Liz and Wes and you thought they were amazing characters and believed in them and their relationship, don't read the sequel because it'll fucking destroy the entire first book for you. I have since unhauled Nothing Like the Movies. I'm so mad and angry that I read it. I went on Goodreads and, like, the first 10 Goodreads reviews basically said, if you enjoyed Better Than the Movies, don't read Nothing Like the Movies. I ignored them and I lived to regret it, so do not read Nothing Like the Movies. I gave it a 2.5 star. doesn't deserve a 2.5 star. I think it's probably closer to like a 1.5 star. I mean, I didn't keep it. If it was a completely average book and it followed characters that I loved, I probably would have just kept it. So obviously I didn't even like it enough to keep it. Moving swiftly along, my favorite book of October was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I finally read this fucking book. I bought this book when it first started making the rounds on BookTube and then never read it. Then my mom asked, like, hey, do you have any books that like you think I might be interested in? And I gave it to my mom and I told her to read it, and she read it really quickly and she really enjoyed it. So I read it directly after her. We still want to watch the TV show. We haven't started to watch the TV show yet, and this was when? October. But it is a fun little book about alternate universes, and it is a little bit sciencey, but I do not give a fuck about science. Science goes right over my head, and I understood it, so I feel like it is idiot friendly if you don't know anything about science or parallel universes. This book is going to be fine for you. I flew through it. It was great. Least favorite book of October was a short story collection. You're picking up another pattern here. If I read a short story collection within a month, it was likely the least favorite book of the month. Of the Flesh was not my favorite. I gave it 2.5 stars. There were some stories that I remember to this day that I loved, 5 stars. But like a majority of the short stories were like a 2.5 star, a 2 star. So overall, didn't love the collection. Pretty sure I unhauled it because, like I said, there might have been 2 or 3 5-star short stories. The other like 15 were average or below. So that one is gone. My first... Did I mean to say my first or did I mean to say my favorite? My favorite book of November was These Violent Delights by Micah Namarova. I really wanted to film a video just dedicated to reviewing this fucking book. These Violent Delights, how do I explain These Violent Delights? It is about 2 teenage boys who hate themselves so much and love each other so much that they are so fucking toxic. Like, they are so toxic. They are terrible fucking people to each other, but only because they love each other so much. It's like the best kind of toxicity where, like, I was reading it being like, you two should not be together. Like, you're literally encouraging each other to murder people to prove your love for each other. It's toxic. It's fucked up. I slurped that book up like it was the best minestrone. I don't know. You don't eat soup with a straw. Regardless, I fucking adored it. I was highlighting and annotating throughout, and then I went back and highlighted and annotated some more. Definitely an underrated book. I have not seen anyone rave about this book as hard as I wish people would rave about this book. So if you haven't read These Violent Delights by Micah Namarova, you're gonna need to go and do that. The best kind of toxicity and like the kind of obsessive young love that I feel like is really specific to being young. Like, I don't feel people get as obsessive, like over the top obsessive once you crawl into their partner's skin obsessive, as much as when they're teenagers. And like, I loved it. It was so fucking good. It was so toxic. It was perfection. 5 stars. I would give it 6 if I can. It is one of my new favorite books of all time. My least favorite book of the month of November was a poetry collection called Artemis Made Me Do It. This was like $1.70 on Amazon Returns, so I purchased it because Artemis, Greek mythology, I love that shit. This was your like basic bitch Instagram poetry collection. God forbid we have a poem that fucking rhymes. We did not have a single poem that rhymed. We just had blocks of text or like 2 sentences spread out across a couple of lines to make it seem deeper than it was. What did I give it? 2 stars? I gave it 2 stars because there was some like nice photography and some really cool artwork throughout the book. And I also gave it 2 stars because I do plan on using elements of the art from that book in like a junk journal. So it is multi-purpose, which is very helpful for me because most books have one purpose. You read them and then you put them down. This book, I read it and now I can use it to junk journal. So I did give it 2 stars, being very, very generous. Would never reread it. I wouldn't recommend it. Don't, like, I got nothing out of it other than like being a woman sucks sometimes, and that's why we have to be powerful. Anyway, we are finally up to December. This video is not as long as I thought it would be, thank the heavens. My favorite book of December was Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. To be so fucking for real, guys, I read First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and I was like, this is not the B.K. I fell in love with. Love Light Farms trilogy, no, 4 books. Love Light Farms series, I loved all 4 of those books. All of them were between a 4.5 or 5 star. she became one of my auto-buy authors based on that series. Then First Time Caller came out and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is not the BK Morrison that I fell in love with. Like, it just was a different energy, a different vibe. I didn't like the characters, I didn't believe the chemistry. Like, I did not like First Time Caller. Recently unhauled it, so that should tell you. So when I purchased Good Spirits, I was like, I love holiday romances, but I need this to be better than First Time Caller. Thank the fucking heavens it was a 5-star read. There were so many beautiful moments in this fucking book. There were so many moments where I was like, oh, I've been through this argument. I've been in this conversation before. It was relatable, it was beautiful, it was magical, it was cozy, and it was Christmassy. And I think at one point it was definitely a little bit smutty. I fucking love this book. 5 stars, one of my like best Christmas reads that I have read in fucking years. And that brings us to my least favorite book of December, which was a short story collection called Hungry People by Tasha Coriel. Now, as I've said many a time, it is always going to be, if that I read a short story collection in the month, it is going to be my least rated book. This one, I mean, a 3.25 stars was the average rating, so not bad. Like, if it's over 3-star for a short story collection, that means that there are some, like, there's a significant amount of really good stories. I enjoyed this collection overall. It was a little bit bizarre, it was a little bit strange. It was like Out There by Kate Folk if it was entirely based in like our realistic world. It was good. Wasn't good enough for me to purchase, so I did read an e-copy and I was like, oh, should I buy a physical copy? Like, we'll see how we go. I didn't love it enough to buy a physical copy, so I'm glad that I didn't buy the physical copy and then regret it. It was good. It just wasn't, like, there were some stories where I was just so completely confused. So yeah, that was 25 books, the best and the worst. Well, not really, the best and worst of each month. I feel like if I was to do my overall best and worst of 2025, there would be some changes as far as the best go. I mean, I don't know. I really like a lot of the books that I said were my favorites of the month would also be my favorites of the year. So I don't know, I'm pretty happy with that spread. Yeah, I think it is now time to film a TikTok where I unbox a fun little thing that I received the other day. So I'm gonna go now, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great year and I'll see you soon.